Hi everybody. This is just a little intro video to our Math 125 class. I'm Dr. Joe. This is Wednesday. Nope, it's not. It's Tuesday, July 5th. Um, so let's see. I just want to kind of point you to a few of the features of the course we're in. And first of all, if you go to Blackboard, all you're going to get is the MyOpenMath site and with an extra frame around it, so it's killing your space. So the object lesson there is don't go to Blackboard. We're not using it for anything in this course. So, this is the MyOpenMath site without the extra frame around it. When you log into it and you follow the instructions I sent in an email about how to get into the course, you should have well, you wouldn't have a list of courses you're teaching like this, but you should see courses you're taking and, and probably just there's one thing in it. I'm currently taking these two courses because I got auto-enrolled in them to learn the system. It has been a little while since I've taught using MyOpenMath, and I'm not totally up on every feature of it. I did use it in the past, but it's been a couple of years. So actually, you can see one of my classes, most recent class that I taught in here was fall 2019. All right, so let me pull up the email that I sent previously, and we'll talk around a few things in that. This is big enough to see okay on screen. So yeah, the big issue is that this is a totally online asynchronous course. If you've not been in an asynchronous class before, it just means you work, well, there's no time flow that connects us all together. It's not like we'll all be doing the same thing at the same time. You work on whatever schedule you're at, which is great if you got summer job or something you're needing to deal with. You don't have to do your coursework at any set time. You could actually be at work, for instance, or whatever other elements of life come up. The problem, though, is people tend to. This is just experience talking. I've seen a lot of students go, well, it's asynchronous, so I don't have to do anything. You really do. You really do have to still pack in that time. It's just you get to put it in on your own schedule. So yeah. Um, let's see. The typical rule for a 3-credit math class is you take about an additional 2 to 3 hours outside of class for every hour inside a class. So that means, in a standard semester, 3 hours of class time plus maybe 6 or 9 hours of additional work. Uh, just, well, that's 12 hours, right? 12 hours per week. But we're in this situation where everything's packed into a much smaller period of time. So I think this is probably a pretty good estimate, somewhere between 20 and 30 hours. That's a big commitment. And so, uh, yeah, I guess I'm psyched that everybody is doing that. I hope this isn't news to you. I hope you were sort of thinking ahead of time that this was going to be an intense experience, because I believe it will be. So let's get on to other things. There are 2 textbooks for this course. They're both free things, and I'll show them to you in a second. If people prefer a hard copy, you can get it through the Southern Bookstore or order it off of Amazon, and it'll typically be there within 2 days. So I don't think it's an issue. Use the online versions for now, and if you want the hard copy, it'll have it pretty soon. I mentioned MyOpenMath already. That's sort of where everything is going to happen in the course. So let's head over there. Well, now let me finish going through this email for a second, and then we'll head over there. I did give you instructions on how to get into the MyOpenMath system here. Hopefully, people have been able to do it. Let me just emphasize one thing. Really, it's important that you use your Southern email. That way, well, it'll break things for us if you don't. So please make sure you use your Southern email when you're signing up for the course. Basically, you go in there, and if you haven't used this system before, you're going to need to register with them. Doing what it shows here, username, makeup. That's I said it in here. Yeah, you can make that be anything you like. Um, I think that may be visible to classmates, so don't go crazy. A password. There's no particular reason to make a really strong password for a system like this, but uh, the general advice: don't use one that's for something else important, because if somebody cracks the system, then they get into your bank. That would be bad. Um, First and last name, and finally make sure that you use the Southern email. Finally, the when you're actually in the system and you want to log into this course, there's this enroll in a new class button. You're going to put in that course ID 149019, and Dr. Joe with the D and the J capitalized is the password, is sort of thing. They call it the enrollment key. Last thing in this email that I just really want to bug people about is I need everybody to participate in this doodle poll. I want to find out when is the best time for us to schedule office hours. I, even though this is asynchronous, if you want to meet with me, I'm trying to be flexible and make it times that work for people. So I set up hours between 10 a.m. and I think 11 p.m. So if that's really what works for people, I'll be happy to do those hours. So if if nobody says, hey, I don't want to talk to you, you're my math professor at 9 at night, then we won't bother with that. But I am perfectly willing to go that way if you guys want. All right, so that's that intro email I sent like super early this morning. A couple of things we talked about was the MyOpenMath system. I'm already logged into the thing right now. Maybe it would be smart for me to show you the whole process. So when you go straight to myopenmath.com, you'll be presented with this page, and over here on the right is where you put in your username and your password. I actually used my real name for my username, and let me see if I can remember my password. Yay! I did. All right, so the course is MAT125 Summer 2022. You should find that in your courses you're taking list and jump on that. Now, the view you're seeing right now is not what you as students would see. You wouldn't even have this option, I think, but this is the view that you should see when you pop in there. Except that you wouldn't have these buttons to change the view, I imagine. So this is kind of a funny, well, mildly funny scenario. I don't know if you're going to be able to pick up the sound. My son just had his wisdom teeth out, and he's kind of high as a kite right now on painkillers, and he's playing his music really loud. So, if that comes across to you, that's why. Anyway, so I'm going to try to soldier on with that distraction going on anyway. So yeah, you come into this thing. This should be your first view. There's a syllabus listed. Probably don't need to see too much in the syllabus, but this schedule is what I want to point out to you. I've just arranged it based on the weeks, and so for this week we've got 5 sections of this text of the book to get through, and somewhere probably Thursday I'm going to put up our first quiz. So that'll be on these first 2 areas. So it's 2 areas in the printed book, but it's actually 4 things from the source material book. I'll show you the book. It's this one, Finite Math, Applied Finite Math, the 3rd edition by Bloom and Secon. So this is you can download the thing from here if you want, or you can, I'll show you other resources for getting to the book. So yeah, I'm gonna, after this video, I'm gonna send you a link to another one where we actually get into the content. I'll start, I'm not gonna talk for a long time because part of the MyOpenMath system is there's embedded videos for everything in there. So it's a pretty complete system. Like for instance, what we just spoke about is this first section called the algebra review. There's 2 sections in here, but that's actually made out of 4 things from the Bloom book. So we'll talk about functions and their graphs, and then linear and quadratic functions. Those are pretty quick, and these are things that I imagine everybody is familiar with. But let me just bump into one of these so that you see how it looks. You've got, when you open up a thing, I hope everybody's familiar with this kind of interface where you've got these little chevrons that you can close or open a something. when you open up the functions in their graph assignment, there's the assignment, and then there's this other thing you can open up which has videos, a lot of them actually, about how to do things in the, you know, relative to those topics, functions and graphs. And then there's some reading that you can go to right there. I think the reading actually appears in line here. It's not something that links out to. All right, so but I'm gonna give you my take on the things, as well as you'll have these resources to go through and see what if you're having trouble with a particular question. It should be pretty reasonable to go through these things and figure out the correct video to watch to get a hint on what you're troubled by. All right, so I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say about using MyOpenMath. Um, One thing it's there's pluses and minuses. I think everybody knows to having an online system like this. A, a, a big plus is that your feedback on it is immediate, right? You do something wrong, and it tells you right then, or you do something right, it gives you a nice little congratulatory message. That's great. It really does help learning to get immediate feedback on stuff. The bad thing is that it's a computer grading things, and they're very literal-minded beasts. The computer will not look at a thing and go, "Oh, well, all they did was spell it wrong." It'll just mark you wrong, so the way a human teacher might do. So you've got to be kind of anal retentive when it comes to inputting your stuff. Make sure there's in almost all these MyOpenMath problems, there's a hint at what form the answer should be. And if it asks for a fraction and you give it a decimal, it's going to say, eh. It's going to say, no, I'm not accepting that. So make sure you don't get marked wrong for stupid stuff. That is, figure out the right format for the answer and then put it in that format. You do get multiple chances at these problems. In fact, I think it's unlimited, but I have to go back and check that. It's intended to be either unlimited or so many opportunities that it's might as well be unlimited. All right. Anything else I need to say about here? I think not. We've got that open. Okay. So in my screen, I'm kind of using the setup I created back in the early days of the pandemic, kind of a homebrew way to do online learning. And I had this little webcam set up looking at a graphing calculator. We're not going to be using this. So pull that out there. I may occasionally use that area to write notes to and something, but you won't use a graphing calculator in this course. What you'll use is this system that is on screen here. There are multiple things that are accessible in this system called Geogebra. That's a combination of geometry and algebra, right? So it does both geometry and algebra. We're going to use it as a graphing calculator at first, and then later as a computer algebra system for doing some work with matrices. If you've seen the movies called The Matrix, or the sequence of movies the first one was called The Matrix. I thought that was a funny and confusing name. A lot of people didn't know what the heck a matrix was. You're about to find out. That's one of the things in this course that you'll do. But be honest, it's not really a very super secret. It's just a matrix is just a table of numbers. And we'll be playing with them in sort of the second half of the course. So what can you do with this thing? Well, you can get pictures of formulas. Like if you put y is equal to x to the second power, you get that familiar graph, right? So it's quick to play with, and again, we'll say more about it later. It is also possible to just use it as a calculator. Why is it not making me a new one? Perhaps I just have to hit enter. Yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, what if I just needed to know, what's 23 times 19? It tells you 437. Okay, so you can use it as a calculator, or you can use it as a thing that'll make plots for you, which is both of those are handy. I have both of the textbooks that we're going to be using opened up here. The first one is called Applied Calculus, and it's by a guy I've met, and he's really pretty cool, Dave Lippman. He's had a few other people helping him with the book now lately, so Shauna Calloway, Dale Hoffman, but Lippman was the one who got it all started. It's a pretty selfless thing to do. He wrote a book, which, trust me, that's a lot of effort, and he's just giving it away. He's making it available online, and he also makes there's it's sort of like a computer program. There's source code that creates the actual printed or appearance of the printed book. Um, he's made that code available to other people. So, for instance, the Southern Math Department was able to use his source code and create that textbook that I mentioned that has the contents from this as well as the other one. And so it's a really pretty almost communistic or socialist anyway um, thing. They're making something freely available, but also making it free in the sense that other folks can take it and mess with it and change it to their liking. So I like that idea. And you know, there's two senses of freedom people talk about. Free as in beer. Free beer is lovely. It's great that this costs you students no money, but there's also free like in liberty, and that's the second sense that I was just talking about. That you're not only free to look at it, you're free to take it and use it as your own. You just aren't allowed to. Well, you can even make money off of it, to be honest, but you can't. You can't fail to give the student credit for it. Right? You have to show attribution if you do use his materials. All right, so both of these books are of that sort. They're free, open source texts, and we're going to be mostly working in the first one at first, the applied calculus book, and then the last 2 weeks will be in the finite math book. Both of these things are teaching you about tools that are super important in the business world. Calculus sounds scary. People worry about it. Certainly, folks in the sciences use calculus all the time. Um, the the basic idea of calculus is not that big a deal, though. It's just what you use when you've got a situation where change is involved. If you've got a static situation, there's no need to do anything calculus wise. But if things are changing on you, and they almost always are in the real world, you have the price of a commodity, for instance. Does it stay put? No, it's moving all the time. And you use calculus to answer questions about this. Like, for instance, when does the price of that commodity reach its peak value so that I might be interested in selling it at that point? Buy low, sell high. That low and high points, that's something that you find via calculus. So this, trust me, this is stuff, or at least it's going to be a way of thinking that will really help you in your business careers. The second section, when we get into, well, I was just talking about the calculus stuff while I was having the finite math thing up on the screen, but the second half of the text is, or the course is about some issues that are non-calculus, but also involved in the sort of thinking that you do in calculus. It's called optimization. Optimization globally means you're trying to find the best level of something. What's the for instance, you've got a company that's got an advertising budget. Should you raise the budget? Should you lower the budget? What's the best amount of money to be spending on advertising to maximize your profit in that company? So optimization is something that you definitely see in calculus, but there are also sort of discrete world versions of it. We'll be looking at those in the latter half of the. There's a process that's known as linear programming, which we're going to not get into great depth with it, but give you some sort of visual approaches to it so that you can understand kind of what's going on, and then show you how to use a computer to get it to actually solve the problem. The problem there, different from calculus, is that in linear programming problems, often the situation is multidimensional. So we're going to show you things in 2D and a few things in 3D. Those are, themselves really hard to do. But if you're working for a giant corporation that's solving real linear programming problems, they can be 100 dimensional. They can be 1,000 dimensional, frankly. You can have dimensionalities that are way beyond the human mind's ability to conceive of. It's okay. We've got a way of dealing with it, and we've got machines that just pump out the answers when we need them. So, um, from the human perspective, it's just knowing how to set it up so that the machine can handle the trouble. Okay, well, I think that's the extent of the welcome message that I wanted to put out to everybody. I will send you a link shortly for the first two sections worth of materials. I already mentioned that that's actually four sections worth of materials, but the first things in the area one on our My Open Math site, the algebra review. We're intending to go through these right quickly, so we'll be getting into section two later this week. Okay, I'll see you later.